Welcome to the eComm Breakthrough Podcast. Are you ready to unlock the full potential and growth in your business? You've already crossed 7 figures in sales, but the challenge is knowing how to take your business to the next level. Join Josh Hadley, an 8-figure eComm business owner and investor, as he interviews highly successful business owners. Get ready, because you're going to learn specific actions you can take today to help your business reach its full potential and leave a lasting impact on the world.
Welcome to the eComm Breakthrough Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Hadley, where I interview the top business leaders in e-commerce. Past guests include Kevin King, Howard Tai, and Roland Frazier. Today, I'm speaking with John Gill, the founder and CEO of Willow and Grace Designs, and we're going to be talking a lot about how to build a successful brand. This episode is brought to you by eComm Breakthrough Consulting, where I help 7-figure companies grow to 8 figures and beyond. Listen, John, I started my business back in 2015 and grew it to an 8-figure brand in 7 years, but I made a lot of mistakes along the way that made the path of getting to 8 figures take a lot longer than it needed to. There are a lot of mistakes I made when it came to hiring. There were a lot of mistakes that I made when it came to cash flow or PPC management or advertising and just overall running the business. And I wish I would have had a mentor or a guide along the way that would have helped me overcome those stumbling blocks a lot faster and a lot easier. And so to our listeners, those of you who are running into similar stumbling blocks and want to know the next steps to take your brand to the next level, go to ecombreakthrough.com. That's eComm with 2 M's to learn more. And as a special bonus to my podcast listeners, this month I'm giving away one $10,000 comprehensive business strategy audit session at no cost. All you need to do is email me at josh@ecombreakthrough.com and in your subject line say strategy audit and tell me why I should choose you and your brand to work with for this month. Today, I'm excited to introduce you all to John Gill. John does not consider himself a rock star, just a normal guy with dreams and goals that won't be defeated and will never give up. Back in another life, he was a police officer in South Florida. He always dreamed of being an entrepreneur, and his journey as an entrepreneur started with jumping into the MLM space. He didn't make a lot of money, but he learned a ton. His venture into the telecommunications sector led to the establishment of a thriving business as a licensed carrier for prepaid calling cards, lasting for 12 years until the industry changes caused its decline. Motivated by all of these experiences, John then entered the Amazon selling industry, dedicating 11 years to building and selling multiple successful brands. Presently, he recently launched his latest brand while globally sharing insights through his events. So with that introduction, welcome to the podcast, John.
Thanks. Great to be here, Josh. Great to be here.
John, we talked offline, and we probably should have hit the record button immediately because as soon as we started talking, it was like gold nuggets being shared left and right. And so this is going to be a fantastic episode. I just want to tee this up that, for everybody listening, and we'll listen to John's background, John knows what he's talking about. He has networked and he's been in high-level mastermind groups that are not open to the public with very high-level sellers. So John knows what he's talking about. John has been there, done that. He knows how to create successful Amazon brands, and he's willing to peel back the curtain for us today, and he's going to share some amazing insights. So John, with that being said, I would love to hear, your journey into the Amazon space. And why don't you tell our listeners everything you have going on from, the events, how many brands you have, agencies, or, software services. Tell us all.
God, where do I begin? And that setup was, you set the bar really high. So hopefully I can beat the expectations. But, first, you were talking about in the intro, you were talking about all the hurdles and struggles and the mistakes. And as you're saying that, I'm saying, good, because that's where we learn. That's where we learn. And, my other thought was get in line, pal. We've all, the interesting thing about entrepreneurship is what I've realized, you have to have ice in your veins. You really do. It's not for the timid, because crap will happen. You will get knocked to the ground. But the idea is just getting up, learning from your mistakes and moving forward. Because to me, it's a journey. Where I am today has nothing to do with where I'm going to be, but I'm not going to get there unless I go through these struggles. I think that, if you didn't have any struggles, I think that's a disadvantage. I really do. Because again, we're all unfinished products. We all have goals, dreams, and desires. And in order to get there, we have to go through these trials. So I'll leave it at that. But as far as the journey, it's kind of an interesting story. So as you mentioned, had a very successful telecom business. And the mistake that I made is I wasn't paying attention to the trends. And so I was a licensed carrier for prepaid calling cards, to make international phone calls. And what I didn't see happening was, and again, in the prepaid calling card industry, the biggest market was actually Mexico. And everybody was calling cell phones. And back then, the cost for 1 minute to call a cell phone in Mexico was about 25 cents. So then what happened is the price started to drop. And then what happened is now cell phone carriers were saying for $10 unlimited calls to Mexico. There was the calling card business. Then you had the technology. And again, this is with everything, the VHS, they kind of all go away with the dinosaur. But people started using Skype and WhatsApp and all those VoIP programs. So I got kind of caught with my pants around my ankles and wasn't ready. And it's my fault. So what had happened is that I went from that to I was doing consulting, started consulting business. What happened was I received an email from an internet marketer. And I'm trying to remember his name, Andy Jenkins. Andy Jenkins. He was known as Video Boss or something like that. The crazy thing was I wasn't on his list. Where did I get this email? And what the email was doing is he was promoting the first ASM, Amazing Selling Machine course. And so it looked pretty interesting. I gave him my information, and then I started getting, the regular videos and emails promoting the launch of it. And at the time, my wife, who's from Ecuador, she felt like she wasn't contributing. She wanted to contribute more. And she didn't know what to do. So I showed her this email, and I said, look at this, your two favorite things, the internet and shopping. This could be perfect for you. So what she had said during that time is, yeah, it looks great, but, I don't have any business background. English isn't my first language. I said, don't worry, honey. I'll watch it with you. And you just, any questions, I'll help you. I'll explain it to you. I'll guide you, whatever. You got my support. So that particular course had 8 modules, and they would release one per week. So by the time the module 2 came along, halfway through, she's like, I'm out. But because I was watching it with her, it's like, wait a second. This makes sense. This makes a lot. I didn't know squat about Amazon. At that time, which was 11 years ago, I can honestly say that I maybe used Amazon 4 or 5 times. Maybe. I wasn't even buying from Amazon. So, but again, watching this, I said, this makes sense. I can do this. And so I took over from there. And again, I just put the notes. And the thing about, one of the things about me is I'm not the best learner. I think I got ADD or something like that. So I literally watched every video at least 10 times in order for it to sink in. And I told that story to some people, and they laughed at me. And I said, how bad do you want it? Big deal. I watched it 10 times. I don't care. But if that's what it took for me to understand it, then that's what it takes, because I wanted the result. And so I was very fortunate. I was part of ASM 1, phenomenal course for a beginner. It's a phenomenal course, great foundation. And I was very fortunate. My first couple of products were huge successes. And that led me to, ASM inviting me to speak at their events in front of thousands of people. And then from that, I was invited to speak in different countries. And then because I spoke at so many events, I started to see patterns and started to understand what the attendees, these Amazon sellers, were looking for, what they wanted, and at the same time, what they didn't like about the events that I was speaking at. And it was kind of by accident. I had a bunch of people that were asking me if I was doing any events and pushing me to start. So I did. And my events were amazing. Now, that kind of sounds a little cocky, but let me finish by saying, not because of me. Where I was fortunate, and I think this is a very, very important aspect, is that one of the things that I've learned early on in as an entrepreneur is the importance of networking. I can't emphasize that enough. I am so fortunate and so blessed to be surrounded by some of the smartest and greatest people that I've ever met. Some of my best friends to this day, 63 years old, to this day, I met in this business. So I'm fortunate enough that if I come across any struggle, any challenge, any question that I have, I can pick up the phone or an email, WhatsApp, whatever, and I can get answers from some of the smartest, most successful Amazon sellers out there. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of networking. Get around people that are doing what you're doing and that are successful at it. And again, bring value to them, and then the value comes back. Actually, Tony Robbins, who's one of my favorites, talks about this. One of the shortcuts to success is find people that are successfully doing what you're doing and model them. They created the roadmap. Just get that map and follow it. That's the shortcut to success. And so, that's always been something that I focused on, and it's worked well. But that led me to doing these events. So I've done, I think, 14 3-day events, a handful in China, a bunch in Cabo, Barcelona, Amsterdam, Miami. And I've been very fortunate that a lot of the people that attend, great people, phenomenal people actually, and very, very smart Amazon sellers, and most of which I'm still connected with to this day. So it was, and you were asking me, is there value in having a mastermind, creating a mastermind, or being part of a mastermind? Absolutely. But it has to do with the quality of people that are in that group. So I had one group that I created that was just high level sellers, super high level sellers. And it was a year-long program. We had the quarterly get-togethers in different places around the globe. And the crazy thing, and the most amazing thing about that was there was nothing with this group of 52 people. There was nothing, no problem, no question that we could not answer or solve. You put all those smart people together, there's nothing you can't figure out. And so much came from that. So much success came from that, from everybody involved. So that's my story when it comes to networking, and I'm sticking to it. It's mission critical. It's mission critical. So again, that led me to the question was, the history, doing the masterminds and doing these live events. And then now I've kind of backed off from that and really focusing on some other businesses that I have, and refocusing on my Amazon business, because there's just so much opportunity there. It's just phenomenal opportunity.
I love that. So John, you've basically seen Amazon, how it's grown over the last decade, and it's changed drastically, right? I mean, Amazon has evolved. It's more competitive. It's not as easy, quote unquote, as it once was. But yet what you just said is like, there's still tremendous opportunity within Amazon. Is that still something you believe, even though it's more competitive than it ever was 11 years ago?
Absolutely, positively. Absolutely. But you're right. It's completely different. But the crazy thing about Amazon is they almost change drastically every 6 months. Mm-hmm. But what I started 11 years ago to today, it's not the same business. It's not the same business. And again, it really comes back now to really understanding and knowing the Amazon industry, knowing the business, knowing the right things to do. Back in the day, it was a lot easier, but also people were relying on hacks. There were guys out there with bots for the ranking and all that stuff. And then, I still get all these emails from people from India and Pakistan that we can rank this, we can do that, we can change your votes, help you with your reviews. Those hacks don't work. They don't work anymore. And if they do, they're very short-lived. They're temporary. Not to mention they're risky. So I think it's important to get to the basics and get very, very good at the basics. Starting with the right product, doing your research, starting with the right product, having a fully optimized listing, having a phenomenal launch, and then, focusing. Here's a big thing that I focus on is customer service. I love and I appreciate all my customers. And I tell them, when I get the opportunity, I tell them, without folks like you, I wouldn't have a business. So I appreciate you, and I'm always going to do my best to do the right thing and help you out. And I actually, on my insert, as crazy as this may sound, on my insert, I have my cell phone number and my email address. I want them to call me. And I do it for a couple of reasons. One is what they tell me is where I'm screwing up. They tell me how I can make my business better. Because that's the interesting thing. So I come from a world of, in sales. I was a sales rep for Pitney Bowes many, many years ago before I started my telecom business. And I'm very confident selling, one-on-one, face-to-face, toe-to-toe. You don't get that opportunity in e-commerce, So I love that interaction with the customer so that they can tell me what I'm doing right and what I'm doing wrong to help me improve my business. But it also gives me an opportunity to thank them. And it also gives me an opportunity to take care of a situation, which I always do when I bend over backwards. But the result is a happy customer that usually comes back for more and leaves a phenomenal review. A lot of my reviews have my name in it. They mentioned me because of what I did for them. And I've had people contact me and say it was one of the reasons why they bought my product. So I think a lot of people miss that. They miss that, the importance, because it's e-commerce, the importance of customer service.
Yeah.
Importance of customer service. And again, by communicating, and this is to me is like one of the basics, and you and I were talking about this earlier, is know your customer. You have to know your customer. How did that work out for Bud Light and Target? Not judging what they did. Yeah, but not judging what they did. God bless them. But you clearly did not understand your audience, and they spoke to you, and it hurt them greatly. You got to know your customer. Yeah.
John, I think that's such an important, basic business 101, but so many people, I think, overlook that, right? I think one of the first VAs that people hire or assistants is customer service. And then it's out of thought, out of mind. That's one of the first things to lose the entrepreneur's mind. And then they never pay attention to it. One thing that we do in our business is that we have a monthly customer service review where that customer support rep that we're working with will provide, here is everything we've got from all of the customers that have reached out. Here's their ideas of how to improve the product. Here's what they're not happy about. Here's what they are happy about. And it also helps us zero in on those customers, right? And understand who they are, right? And so I would say, maybe one quick action item is when was the last time you actually fielded a customer service question? Number one. But then number two, if you have somebody doing that for you, are you meeting with them on a regular basis to actually get feedback from the customers and then be able to make adjustments in your business accordingly? John.
Yeah. And I think if I could jump in real quick, Josh, I'm so sorry. I don't want to mess up your mojo here and your flow.
No, this is great. Let me hear it.
It's part of what I explained to you in that document you sent me too. Is when I first started this journey and got into ASM, they had a Facebook group, and it became an addiction to everybody, including me. And I hate Facebook. But the challenge that came from that is many of the people who had joined were e-commerce guys, gals. They had experience, that they had success in e-commerce. So they're on there posting stuff, and they're throwing out terms and talking about technology and stuff. And I was like, oh my God, I have no idea what these guys are talking about. I'm not an e-commerce guy. I'm not a techie guy. I have no idea what they're talking about. And at first, it scared the heck out of me, because my thought was, well, they could succeed because they know all these things, but man, this is going to be a challenge for me. So what it forced me to do is to stick to the basics, stick to the things that I do know, the success principles that I do know, and follow that system. And long story short, I was very blessed to have done a lot better than a lot of them. But it was because I stuck to the basics, because that I understood. And I think that a lot of people, as you mentioned, miss that. There's certain things, business 101, stick to the basics and get good at it. You don't have to be great at everything. Just get good at the basics.
Yeah, I love that.
So I'm sorry. So
such a good principle. Such a good principle. John, I was going to ask you a follow-up question regarding, an earlier conversation we had, which is that, as you've been doing these different events and having your hands in multiple businesses, I believe that you moved your Amazon business to an agency to manage that business for you, right? And I think everybody in their mind has this ideal vision of, this would be great. Let's turn my business over to this expert agency. They're going to run this thing on autopilot. I'm just going to sit back and collect the checks. I would love to hear, A, how did that experience go? And then B, what are you doing now that you took things away from the agency?
All right. The first part to that question, how'd that work out? It was an absolute disaster. It was a disaster, big mistake. And again, my idea was I had these other businesses I really wanted to focus on. this is a little bit on cruise control, what damage could be done, and again, the people that I hired are a well-known company, but they were terrible. They're absolutely terrible. And I think what it comes down to too is if you don't pick the right people, and I'm not saying, because I know some of the people that were in my mastermind have agencies, and they're awesome individuals, great people, great business, and they do get results for their customers. So this is not a blanket statement about all agencies. This particular one was terrible. And I think what it comes back to for me is that I didn't do my due diligence, although they're well known. They're all over the internet, all over this. The gentleman who owns the company is all over YouTube. But they're not going to care about your business as much as you are. And again, also, making sure that you stay on top of them and having them focus on the most important things. But long story short, it was a disaster. And I fired them months ago and pretty much had to start over, had to redo all the listings. The listings were horrendous. And I shared with you about a tool that I use that, I helped just in the birth of this thing, the idea. And it's been a game changer for me. But it's a tool that allows you to get consumer insights, which have been game changing. Because, the thing that I've said, and I shared it with you, I don't give a crap what you think, and I don't care what I think. I only care what the consumer thinks. But how do you get into their mind? How do you understand the consumer's needs, wants, and desires? How do you understand what information that I need to give the consumer in order to make a confident buying decision? Where do I find that? Well, this particular tool is called Intellivy, Intellivy, Intellivy.com, is a tool that was developed to get these consumer insights. So there's a group of over 28 million consumers. The first 350,000, Intellivy cultivated real sellers, all Prime members, and we use those people in order to give us this feedback. Whether it's doing a survey on a main image, an image stack, or there's one tool where you give them the ASIN and they will do a video and tell you why you won't buy this product. Because I want to know. I want to know. And the craziest thing is that some of the feedback that I got has been game changing, but shocking. And so I'll share that quick story that I shared with you. So the first product I launched was a floating shelf, set of 2. Gorgeous. I focus on quality. I'm never the lowest price. I'm usually on the higher side. I focus on quality because there is a segment of buyers in Amazon that are willing to pay for quality. Not everybody is, let's call it a Walmart shopper. No offense to Walmart. And so I thought, all my competitors have decor on the shelves. Oh, but my shelves are so beautiful. I'm going to outsmart them. My main image is going to have nothing. It's just going to feature the beauty of the wood. Well, we did the survey against my top competitor. He beat me 60-40. He got 60%. I got 40%. But the feedback, because it's more than just a vote, yes or no, this one, that one, A, B, whatever. They give you feedback. You post a question, gave them the feedback. And the feedback was, I like this one because of the decor. It gives me an idea what it's going to look like in my home. And it gives me an idea of the size. Darn it. So I guess I'm not so smart after all. Luckily, I had photos, images with the decor. So I immediately jumped on, did another one. Completely different group of people. Did the survey. I beat him 60-40 this time. But the interesting thing in the feedback was several people that mentioned that my shelves, because a set of 2, like I told you, they look like they were too far apart in the image. Really? You notice that? That makes a difference? Call my graphics guy, kill the dead space, bring them closer. Within 20 minutes, I did the third survey. I beat him 90-10. 90-10. Who would have thought in a million years that would make a difference? Because that's, again, critical aspect when it comes to success on Amazon is having a fully optimized listing. In the past, the strategy and technique people use in creating a listing is find the most successful guys selling a similar product and copy their listing. You don't know what they're doing in the back end. You don't know all the, what they know that's creating their success. It could be more. They could have, because I've seen successful products with horrible listings, but they're still successful, because there's other factors involved. But again, that goes back to the basics, having a fully optimized listing. And again, giving the consumer the information that they need to make a confident buy decision. So I'll share the other story. So I told you, I redid all my listings. So when I hired this company and fired this company, I did a survey. on the listings that they created that we had for months while sales were going backwards. And I got 6% of the vote. I got crushed. Consumers hated the listing. Every image they hated. And so we took the information that we got. We made changes, did another survey, did better. Took that information, made more changes, did better. Took that information, made more changes, and then we were crushing all of our competition. But the interesting thing that I shared with you is the common thread, the common comment that people were making is, I like this one better, whether it was mine or the competitors, because it looks easier to install, even though there was nothing in any of the images that referenced the installation process. But what did they tell me? They told me that this was important to them. So guess what I did? We created images that emphasize the ease of installation because they told me that's what they needed to make a confident buying decision. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Know your customer. Who is your customer? What are their needs, wants, and desires? And how do I communicate to them that I'm gonna fulfill those needs, wants, and desires? So you're good with me. Buy my product. You're gonna be okay.
Yeah, I love that. So, John, it sounds like the main thing that you changed when you took things back from the agency, was it just the main image, or was it everything on the listing, from the title, bullets, description?
Everything.
Interesting.
Everything. And again, it was all based on the changes that were made were based on consumer feedback, not on my opinion, not on my gut, because my gut has clearly failed me in the past. You know, the funny thing is, I use this analogy in the early days. Is I look at Josh. Do you have any kids?
Yeah, we have 3.
All right. Well, I got you beat. I got 5. But when you have a baby and you're holding that baby, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. Even if your kid looks like a lizard, it's still a beautiful baby. But you think the baby's beautiful, but the rest of the world doesn't. We're that way with our listing. Look at this. Oh my God, look what I created. It's beautiful. I love this. It's beautiful. It might not be just because you think so. And again, like I said, I don't care what I think. I don't care what you think. I only care what the consumer thinks. Know your customer. Know your customer.
I love that analogy, John. I'm going to have to start stealing that from you. I love that, baby analogy. I think that's so true. I think we all get so married to our ideas, the way we create things. It's like, this is perfect, right? And then we roll it out and then we get frustrated when it's like, why aren't people loving this as much as I do? John, I'm curious to learn more about this listing optimization. What are some of the big takeaways? If you could boil everything down into a couple actionable takeaways for our listeners, what are the key things to focus on for listing optimization that have been the biggest needle movers for yourself?
Well, I think first and foremost are the images, because not everybody reads the copy. You know, me personally, the only time I read the bullet points or the product description is if it's something that's size related, or what I'm buying, is it good for the iPhone 15 or whatever, specifics. But if that's not the case, I'm focusing on the images. And so it's important to have optimized images that, again, have the information. You're feeding the information to the consumer that the consumer needs to make that confident buying decision. I think that's critical. And then for those who do read the bullet points, it's important to have good bullet points with a call to action, have good sales copy, have your keywords, make sure you have the right keywords in there. And that's another thing. I mean, doing your proper research. There's great tools out there, whether it's Helium 10. There's a bunch of tools out there for keyword research and that's critical to make sure that you have them in your copy, you have them in the back end, you have all the right keywords.
Was that something that the agency did a poor job of? Was even SEO in getting the right keywords in there, or was that decent? It was primarily
don't know if they even did it. They claim they did it. But again, one of the tools I use, as mentioned, is Helium 10. I didn't see a change. I didn't see ranking for new keywords. I didn't see any of that stuff. So if they did do it, it clearly did not work. So I don't even know if they did.
Fascinating. John, you talk about, images being the number one listing optimization that you can make on your product. And that's why you referenced using Intellivy. I think that's one tool that people are familiar with. what have you seen? You know, you've been in these mastermind groups, you've networked with a lot of different sellers. Have you been able to identify any type of common pattern for main images that seem to work really well with customers? Or is it also product dependent that there's really, there's not a whole lot to share?
Yeah, it depends on the product. It really does. It depends on the product. Because some products, what I've seen with some friends that I have, or family members, without giving away brands and whatnot, because I mentioned I have a son who's just killing it. And but what I've seen with people, for example, with nutraceutical products, one of the things that converts well is having that, the little badges saying 100% organic or vegan or this or that. Those made a difference. Things like that make a difference. But again, what it comes back to is giving the consumer the information that they require in order to make a confident buying decision. So that does. So if I'm a vegan, I'm not. And it reminds me of a joke. How do you know somebody's vegan? They'll tell you. So bad joke. But, but those particular things, if I'm vegan, show me which one's vegan. And you know what? And don't make it hard for me. In this example, don't make it hard for me. Do I got to dig? So if you were going down a line, here's a bad example. So I remember back in the day when my youngest boy was in high school, when he did well in school, we would reward him and he always wanted a video game. And I'd go on Amazon and buy it. But what I do is say, like, it's Call of Duty. 50 people selling that game. I would go down Prime, bam. And that's what I would buy. Why Prime? And I'm going to get it in a couple of days. I'm pretty sure it's not counterfeit. If it's sitting in FBA, blah, blah, blah. That was my perception. That's why I bought it. So the same thing in that case of the nutraceutical, if it being vegan or organic or no gluten, whatever is important to me, and I'm scrolling down and I see the image that has that little badge saying vegan or gluten-free or whatever, bam, I'm jumping on that one right away. I don't have to click on every one and make them work for it. Make it easy for them. Give them that information and give it to them right away.
John, are there any, how do you best utilize Intellivy then to get that information from the customer? I would love to hear maybe what kind of surveys you run or whatnot on Intellivy in order to get into the mind of the customer so that you can know, it's as simple as putting made in the USA on the product packaging on the main image, or putting vegan or organic or whatever it is. How are you using it, and what type of surveys should you be asking?
One of my favorite survey tools within there is called an image stack. So I go in there and I pop in my ASIN and my top competitor's ASIN, and it gives all the images. And then I pose a question and I just leave it there. And it's like, bring it on, folks, bring it on. Tell me what you think. And again, like I mentioned with the when we did the survey, and they were telling me I picked this one because it looks easier to install. There was nothing in any of the images that referenced installation. So they told me what was important. They told me. And again, it had nothing to do with any of any images that any me or my competition had. They told me what was important. So I think the important thing is getting in there, getting all those particular your competitors in there, their image stack, posing the right question to them, and just shut up and listen. Listen. Take your bias out. Take the lizard-looking baby out of it. Take your bias out and listen to the consumer. And then again, make the changes. Survey again.
What's the question you ask?
Well, it depends on what you're surveying, but I mean, it could be as simple as which product would you buy and why? Which of these would you buy and why? And why? Not just which ones would you buy. I want to know why, because that's where the meat is. That's where the magic is. Why did you buy this? Why would you buy this? Why would you want this over this one, and this one? Why? Because I shared with you earlier, back when I first started, my first brand was a brand of lighting products, bike lights, camping lanterns, headlamps, unique flashlights, things like that. I had several products, I remember, or one in particular that I'm thinking about, that I say, this one's a home run. I am going to make a fortune off this one, guaranteed. And then I had other products, and one in particular was a headlamp, was a higher end headlamp, more expensive than the others. But I was adding that and launching that as a filler to fill out my brand, to make it look like a bigger company, a bigger brand. Wasn't expecting much from that. Again, it was just a filler. That one took off, where the other one that I thought was a guaranteed home run failed. Now, the crazy part is asking me why. I don't know. why did one fail, which would have been great to know why, because then I would make sure, no, I'm not doing that again. I'm not going to, make the same mistakes. And why did the one succeed? Because if I knew that, I would just replicate that. I would continue to replicate that. But there was no way of knowing. And the other thing too, back in the day when I started, my strategy for picking products was that every month my vendors would send me a box of samples, and I would go through. It was like, oh, that's cool. Send me 5,000. Send me 10,000. This. Send me this color, that color, this color. That's how I picked it. Bad idea. But the interesting thing, I had one camping lantern that was very, very successful on Amazon. It was one of the best-selling camping lanterns, and I believe it came in black and it came in red. So I get this case of samples one day. I open it up, and there's that camping lantern, the successful one, and it's pink. It's pink. I'm like, nobody's selling pink on Amazon. The girls will love this. This is going to be a success. I ordered a ton of them, couldn't give them away. Could not give them away. Because back then I did not have a tool to reach out to the consumer and have them tell me what they wanted, what they liked, what they didn't like, what they thought. So now I don't launch a product without surveying it first. But what it's done as well is it's told me that whether it's a winner or a loser, or it could be a winner if I make this change or that change. So again, I know what the consumer wants. I know what they don't like about it or they do like about it. And then, I fix the things that they don't like. I push the things, forward what they do like.
So would you say one of the bigger takeaways is you've refined your product launch strategy, and maybe it takes longer because you're actually surveying, right? You're going through the process to say, hey, would you be interested in a pink lantern, right? It's like, here are the different options we have. Which one would you choose and why? And if people, don't like pink, they'll let you know that, and it saves you a lot of time and money, obviously having to invest in that pink one.
You got it.
Would you say that your success rate of launching new products is higher today than it was back in the day, even though it's more competitive on Amazon?
10 times, 50 times, 100 times. I mean, I now go into it knowing that the product's going to succeed, and again, I've been very fortunate that I haven't in a while launched any losers. Why? Because I know going in, because consumers told me, and I guess that's the major theme of everything we're talking about is knowing your consumer, your consumer. I've had people that come to me with this great idea that they want to sell this product on Amazon. It's like, is anybody searching for it? Because it's new, it's innovative. Amazon's not the place for that, because if nobody's searching for it, they're not going to find it. Yeah. Again, give the consumer what they want. If they don't know about it, they don't want it. Because they don't know about it. They don't know about it.
Yeah, so true. John, this has been amazing. Definitely, we've gotten some gold nuggets out of all of this. I have to ask you this question, though, as we wrap things up. You've been around so many elite sellers. You know what some of the best strategies are. Are there any, maybe some public strategies that you would be obliged and allowed to share with us as just some quick wins that our sellers that are looking to scale from 7 to 8 figures and beyond, that they could implement in their own business?
You know what? I wish I had some magic bullet I could share with you. I think it's like we talked about, getting back to the basics. And again, the biggest change that I've seen in my business as far as growth is concerned is, again, understanding and knowing my consumer. What is it that they want? Tell me what you want. I will give that to you. But I can't give it to them if I don't know what it is. And so by knowing that, because in the past, like I shared with you earlier, whether it was the listing or whether it was the product selection, a lot of that came from gut. Don't trust your gut. Don't trust your gut. Find out what the consumer thinks, what the consumer wants. And that doesn't mean asking your brother, your sister, your best friend, your girlfriend, your boyfriend. No, because they're going to give you a biased answer anyway. Find out what the consumer really wants, what they think.
Yeah, I love that, John. Great words of wisdom. So, John, as we wrap things up here today, then I love to leave the audience with 3 actionable takeaways. Here are the 3 takeaways that I noted. You let me know if you think I'm missing something here. Action item number 1 is know your customer is obviously the overall theme of this. And so my action item would be this. You, as the CEO of your brand, need to actually fill and observe some of the customer service inquiries that you're receiving. So when was the last time that you actually fielded one of those questions? And if you have somebody filling that role, which is good, right? Do you have a way that you are getting a continuous report from them and updates to understand what feedback you are getting from people that are actually buying your products, right? What do they love about your product? What do they dislike about your product? And then my question to you as the brand owner is, what are you doing with that feedback? Are you just sitting on it and being like, oh, interesting, oh well? Because the people that are willing to innovate and focus on quality and always improve, in my opinion, are going to be the brands that win in the long run. And we see that time and time again where there's quick, somebody hits, lightning in a bottle and a quick flash and they do really well real quick, but then it peters out eventually. So you have to kind of ask yourself what type of brand you want to be. But if you want to be around for a long time, you have to implement, just like you should be doing a financial monthly review, you should be doing a customer review every single month. Action item number 2, this would be focused on understanding what it is that your customer wants and then communicating that through your images and your overall listing. And so I love the idea of utilizing the tool, Intellivy, there's PickFood, there's Product Pinion, there's lots of these, survey tools that you could use. But are you actually utilizing them more than just and are you actually reviewing the insights that people leave, right? I think that many of us just look at it as hey, I'm just going to put these products up real quick. And if I win out by a couple percentage points, that's good enough. I'm going to move on. But John shared a great example of how he went from, getting 40% of the results, changed an image, went to 60% of the results, then changed the images again based on feedback and got 90% of the votes, right? And so continue to push that envelope higher and higher. Don't be satisfied with, just because you got a slim majority of those votes. Keep pushing the envelope until you can definitely dominate your competition. My third and final action item is that you should be implementing this customer feedback and surveys into your product launch strategy. If you're still shooting from the hip in terms of coming up with product ideas and you're just thinking, what would be fun? What do I think would work best? What's the best seller doing? And that's what I'm going to come out with. Then more often than not, you're going to struggle in terms of, launching successful products. But like John talked about, because he's very diligent in the fact that he surveys customers and he does more than just one survey. It happens again and again and again. He has a high level of confidence, and he just said it himself that most of his product launches have all been successful as of late because he knows going into it, he's already won all the votes previously leading up to that product launch. So saving him time, saving him money, less disappointment when something doesn't work out like he wanted it to. And again, I think the other analogy to just keep in the back of your mind is if you create your own, product and the listing images, just as if you have your own child, you're going to think it's the cutest thing in the world. But in reality, it may not be, right? So go talk to the customers. They're going to be the ones that vote with their dollars at the end of the day. Doesn't matter if you think your baby's cute, matters what the other people think. So, John, anything else you would add as an action item that I failed to cover here?
I think you nailed it pretty good. Again, if you stick to the basics, you'll do great. You'll do great.
I love it. All right, John. My favorite 3 questions that I get to ask every guest are these. Number 1, what has been the most influential book that you've read and why?
And I shared with you earlier, it's sitting on my desk, Think and Grow Rich. This is the Bible of success. It was written in the 1940s, and it is phenomenal. And I remember in early days, as I shared with you, my initial start to entrepreneurship was getting involved in MLMs. And I remember I was at an event, and a gentleman who's an ex-football player, Tim Foley, and he said he didn't read this thing until he was in later years, retired football player, very successful in this MLM, which was Amway at the time. And he said he read this the first time. He got so pissed, he threw it against the wall. He said, at this stage of my life, how come I have not? This is the first time I'm reading it, and why haven't I read it 10 times? I mean, it's that good. It's the basics for success, And again, I think we get away from that. We've gotten into a culture of shortcuts and hacks, which I take that back. I'd like to add that because back in the early days, 11 years ago, 10 years ago, 9 years ago, whatever, a lot of sellers, including myself, we were relying on hacks for our success. Those don't work anymore. And when they do, they're short-lived and they're not worth the risk. They're not worth the risk. So get back to the basics and get great at the basics. Forget the hacks. So again, Think and Grow Rich is great because it is the foundation. It is the basics. It talks about the importance of masterminds. Like we talk about networking, get around great people that are successful and on the same page as you. And there's so much that you can learn from them. The importance of, what you focus on and the things that you think about, putting the right thoughts in your mind and focusing on success, not because again, we get caught up with, and I mentioned that in that questionnaire, and if I can just throw this in here, because I think this is so critical, is if people heard me speak on stage before, they've heard this, so you're going to hear it again, sorry. One of the things that I talk about all the time when I speak, and it's what I practice, is that if you want to succeed in anything, whether it's in business, getting in shape, losing weight, whatever, to me, one of the key elements is having that strong and defined, compelling reason why. Why is this a must, not a should? I must succeed. I must accomplish this goal. And if you don't have that strong reason why, what happens is, which we're all guilty of, all of us, I don't care who you are, what level you're at, fear, doubt, and insecurity can creep in. And when it does, if you don't have that strong, compelling reason why, fear, doubt, and insecurity can win. And the analogy that I use all the time, so again, if you heard it, I apologize, you can hear it again, is Josh, you and I are standing out in the street. We look across the street and there's a building engulfed in flames. And I look at you and say, oh man, I left my wallet in there. Hey, Josh, can you go in there and grab my wallet? You're going to laugh at me and say, come on, dude, I'll buy you a new wallet. That's ridiculous. I'm not going in there. It's hot. It's burning. There's flames. I don't know if I'm strong enough. I don't know if I'm fast enough. I don't know if I can hold my breath long enough. Fear, doubt, insecurity, all those things, questioning yourself, questioning your abilities. But then if I change the story, flip the script, and I say, Josh, the person you love the most is in there. And you got 10 minutes to get them out, or they're going to die a horrible, miserable, painful death. What are you going to do? You're going in. You're not thinking twice. You're not doubting yourself. You're not wondering if you're good enough. Are you smart enough? Are you strong enough? You're not. You're focused on accomplishing that goal and saving the person you love the most. But the interesting thing, I asked you the same thing, go into the burning building. It was the same question. What was the difference? The reason why. So that was the thing when I told you that when I was on that Facebook, that ASM Facebook, and I'm seeing all these smart internet marketers and e-commerce guys, I'm saying, oh my God, I have no idea what they're talking about. They can succeed. I don't know if I can. What got me through that was my reason why. I must succeed. I have to do this for my family. All those goals that I had, which was really mostly family oriented, want to do this for the family. I want to be an example to my kids. I wanted to show them, hey, we got knocked down when we had to close our telecom business, but we got back up and we kept moving forward and we won. So if you have that strong reason why, you cannot be defeated. You cannot be defeated.
I love that. I love the phrase, you only fail when you quit, right? And it's as simple as that. So never give up. Keep moving forward. If you have a bad product launch, learn from it, find another product. Keep going. Keep going. John, question number 2 here. What is a new productivity tool or software tool that you've recently discovered that you think is going to be a game changer? Absolutely, positively, 100% is Intellivy. Unbelievable. The funny thing is we were talking is that I just attended an event in New York, and there was a lot of very, 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 very high level sellers, a bunch of top 100s, so they claim. I had no reason not to believe them. But the crazy thing is they came to us because I was helping out the Intellivy guys at this event, and people were coming to the booth that none of us knew and said, we've been using this. It has saved us a fortune. It's the best tool that we've ever used. And again, understanding your consumer, understanding your customer, getting those insights are invaluable. It helps you make the right decisions. I love that. Completely agree. All right. Final question here for you, John. Who is somebody that you admire or respect the most in the e-commerce space that other people should be following, and why? Well, I don't know if he's got any social media, anyone to follow, but it's Mel's Turlo. So he is the CEO and the founder of Intellivy. And the reason that I say that is, and that's another interesting aspect of that program. It was designed and developed by some of the top sellers on Amazon. The idea when it was originally started, it was something that was being built
for the group of us, just for us. We looked at the landscape. We looked at, in essence, what we tried to do is create a crystal ball. What are the problems that are occurring right now? What are the problems or challenges that we see occurring in the future with Amazon, whether it was launches or, different things. And so based on that, we said, what can we build for us to give us that unfair advantage against our competition to succeed on Amazon? That's where it started. So getting back to Mel's, Mel's is, my God, I have met thousands of sellers, and so many that are multi-millionaires, super successful guys. But by far, this is the smartest man I've ever met in this industry. But to me, that was the most important part. He's one of the kindest, considerate, just an amazing human being. I feel blessed to know the guy. And that is important to me. It's like when I meet people, my attitude is show me who you are quickly, so I can figure out if I want you in my life or not. I don't care what you know. I don't care who you know. I don't care what you have, how much you have. Because if you're a turkey, I'm cleaning it up. If you're a turkey, I don't want anything to do with you. I don't want you in my life. I look at people as either anchors or sails. Yeah. And I want to associate myself with good human beings and that are sales. Where hopefully I bring value into the relationship to help them, and they bring value into my life to help me. Whatever that is, being a better person, a smarter entrepreneur, a more successful entrepreneur is being. So Mel's, he's at the top of my list for sure.
Love that.
And you should get him on one of your podcasts. He'll blow your audience away. He's so smart.
We will have to do that. So, John, thank you so much for all of your time today. John, if people want to contact you, reach out, learn a little bit more about you, where could they find you and contact you?
Well, I can give you my email address. Feel free to reach out. Which is John, JOHN, at Willow, WILLOW, and Grace, GRACE, designs.com. And actually, Willow and Grace are my granddaughters. So that's why I named my company after my babies.
I love that. That's so cool. Yeah. John, thank you so much for your time today. This has been a true pleasure, and I know our audience is better for listening to this. So thanks again for your time.
Oh, the pleasure was truly mine. Thank you for this opportunity, and I hope I brought some value to you folks. Don't give up. Stick in there. Again, I've met so many people that have just crushed it and succeeded in this business, and it's available to everyone and anyone. Just got to be willing to go in there and do what it takes. Put in the effort, put in the work, and again, surround yourself with the right people. Stay focused, stay positive, and you'll be blessed.
Love it. Good words of wisdom. We'll end on that note, John.
Thank you for listening. Visit eCommBreakthrough.com for more information. If you've enjoyed today's episode, the best way you can show your appreciation is by clicking the subscribe button and quickly leaving a review. See you again next time.